Hey, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Everything fine and happy here. I'm at the Open Infra Summit.
Oh,
It will start tomorrow.
excellent. That's cool.
And somehow I chose a fancy hotel. That's
Recording in progress.
finally housekeeping found also my room. Hey Shubham, is your room better?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just give it another minute to see if we can get Shruti on and then we can get started. Oh, there she is, right on cue.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
All right, in the interest of time, we'll go ahead and get started. First thing on the agenda, Magma 1.8 release. There'll be Govin, Yogesh, and Daji.
Yes. So, Shruti, are you going to share the agenda?
Yes, I can do that. Or if you have something else to share, you can take over the screen.
Okay.
For the release.
Yeah, I'm sharing it. Can you see my share?
Yes.
Yeah, so we have been having a discussion about this 1.8 release. We have planned to do this 1.8 release by the end of this month. So for that to happen, we have to branch by this week. So we had a discussion last week with the DevOps team to resolve some of the issues, and we assigned owners, and there are some issues that are still pending and needs to be resolved. That's why I have put all the blocker item here. So the Magma CA is broken as of now, and there are a couple of wavelength PR that needs to go in once the CA is stabilized. So Tim is working on that to resolve it, and we'll be convening tomorrow to get the status. Hopefully it will get resolved by tomorrow, and then wavelength PR can be merged into it. And once that is done, there are some Artifactory related changes that Tim will do. So that's also with him. So we had a discussion last week and assigned owner for all these items. So one thing that is still pending is hosting third-party Ubuntu-based Docker images. So currently the AGW Docker image for ARM, there is no CI. We are manually building it. So I had a discussion with Fabio and about it, and what he said is whatever that is built through the CI process can be hosted in Magma Artifactory. So then I had a discussion with Tim, and he said he'll add a new ARM build job to create the AGW Docker image. And after that, I think the AGW Docker image can be hosted in Magma Artifactory if the CI workflow is ready. So that action item is with Tim and me. Other open question is the SRS run Docker image. So far, we have done the testing with SRS run tester for the ARM platform. I'm using Shubham's Docker image. And when I checked with Fabio, he said the third-party images can't be hosted. So, so I just want Tsc committee's viewpoint about it. So how can we do this? I want to provide something, a documentation with proper end-to-end testing with SRS RAM tester. So that's the only tester that we are using. How can we make it available to the Magma community? Any thoughts here?
Yeah, so Govind, I have a suggestion. We cannot host that in Artifactory, but we can easily store that in Docker Hub. So this is a community managed organization. If you want, or if everyone sees fit, we can host it here.
So, I mean, hosting where? Sorry, Shubham.
I've just shared the link on this chat. I can share it again. So it's a simple Magma core Docker Hub account. We cannot put that third-party image in our Artifactory that is controlled by Linux Foundation. But yeah, anyone can create Docker Hub. So we have this Docker Hub account, community account, you can say that. So we can store it here if everyone sees okay, we can do this.
But this needs to go into Magma documentation as well. So are we allowed to update this information in Magma official documentation?
I don't think documenting anything can be an issue because we are not hosting the image. We are just giving a link. So, yeah, but yes.
Just to intervene here, I think if you push it to Docker, they are very clear that you are distributing and hosting it. I don't think you are. It's legally different from pushing it to your own registry.
I didn't get it, Max. So can you repeat that, please?
Sorry, that might be for a later discussion. I just there's a legal thing that I might want to discuss, but for later discussion.
Okay. Yeah. So
I guess what the point of this discussion, right, is the question is hosting on Docker Hub still in legal compliance versus like, how is it different if if Magma Core Foundation is responsible for maintaining those images, is the same dependent compliance that we need as we need on the Linux Foundation Artifactory. Kendall, correct me if I'm wrong here.
Okay, so those are the legal clauses. So what I'm taking is I can't document also about this in Magma. So what I can do is I can restrict the documentation only for AGW and leave the RAN side open for the users to try with any RAN of their choice. But it will look incomplete if somebody wants to run a full-fledged test like UE ping or eNodeB ping. There won't be any steps available in Magma documentation. That's my concern.
Don't you explain how to build the image yourself?
Yes. I mean, how to run AGW image and how to build it, those things will be documented. So no issues there. So this is the third-party SRS run component that I'm talking about, which I can't document.
Well, can you document the steps to create the Docker image? And so anybody needed can like build it themselves.
Okay, I'll do that then. So we'll give the procedure to build and how to run it. Yep, if that is allowed.
And if you have an automated script to do it.
Yeah, we don't have one, but I'll provide the manual steps. Yep.
Yeah, we have automated script for what, like building or running it? We have for both of these things.
Okay. So I'll take your help, Shubham, then document. Yep.
Yeah. So in my repos, you will find a GitHub Action CI, which will automatically build the image and push it to the registry. And there is also a script for deployment and connecting it to Access Gateway.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, for AGW, as I said, we are creating a new ARM CI workflow to build that Docker image, and that will be hosted in Magma Artifactory, and Tim is working on that. And the third bullet is from the Wavelabs team. So they did some GTP extension header change for the 5G feature set. So Wavelabs team, do you have an update? The JFrog packages, right? The Debian OVS Debian packages. Whether they have the changes that you made, whether it is tested in a Docker environment.
Yeah, we are working on that. We are not tested in the Docker environment. We tested on the Vagrant virtual box, but Docker will check and update. So that action item is still open.
So currently, who is doing the x86 test on with Dockerized AGW? Do we have a CI workflow for it, or somebody is doing manual testing?
Yep. So we have a CI pipeline for Dockerizing the Access Gateway, and it's working fine. Like building it, it will run fine. Like running it, I'm not too sure because of the kernel restrictions. Yeah, but CI is working fine.
In terms of building it, yeah. So we have to we have to do some traffic test also, right? Wavelabs OVS changes. It should not affect the Dockerized AGW working now. So I've been doing some testing on ARM, but the Debian packages uploaded in JFrog, those doesn't have the Wavelabs change. We built those packages 3 months ago, so slightly older OVS version. I can do two things. I can restrict the Dockerized AGW to older packages and say that Wavelabs changes are tested only with package-based Magma and not Dockerized AGW. So can we do that, or Wavelabs team will take the responsibility to do this testing on x86 and ARM targets?
I have a question. The old code that you plan to use will be using the old Facebook connectivity artifactory?
No, not about the artifactory. The OVS changes, right?
Okay.
So it's built 3 months before.
Oh, okay.
Right. So whatever that has gone in,
okay.
It's not there in the ARM's Debian package. I don't know about x86, whether it is getting built periodically and uploaded and tested I mean, testing meaning traffic test.
We build it, but if it's a CI build, we have a limitation that after a certain number of builds, we will start deleting old builds. So if you need, okay, this build should be there, then you have to let us know so we can push it to the test or production registry.
Yeah, that is the build part, Shubham. So traffic test part is who is testing it on x86, right? Whether any test is done or not. Who? Right. Yeah, from
So for Docker specific thing, we will test it the manual way. Meaning for the regular vagrant test that is already done.
Okay, all right.
So I'll do that. We will do the Docker part. Yeah.
Sounds good then. So then you may have to generate a new OVS Debian package and work with the DevOps team to upload the latest OVS packages. And we have to do it for ARM as well, right? If that is not doable, then we have to document it in the release notes about the limitations, right? So ARM is using the older OVS version because this is the last minute change. So we have to create a branch this week. So yeah, Wavelabs is owning it, right, Yogesh?
Yes, Dockerized environment will test it manually.
All right, yeah, sounds good.
Just from my understanding, I would assume that it's a requirement for the release that all the packages are pushed to the registries and are pinned there, and in the process of releasing, that is made sure that they are also that is clear which state of package is used and which version of package. Is that in the scope of the releasing process to check consistency there and check that all releases have the right, or all dependencies, Open vSwitch and so on, have the right patch level and everything is consistent?
Yeah, meaning what happens, Mark, the daily builds we get once these OVS changes are in, that should be part of our daily builds, which gets tested as part of our CI/CD, the Wavelabs 5G CI/CD. So that is tested on a daily basis. It is just that from a couple of days, this build was broken, so we couldn't, meaning we have tested it manually, but not the official build. So that is automatically part of the CI/CD, Mark.
No, I mean that also in the process of releasing, we should actually create a new Open vSwitch patched version release of Magma and give that a new version and push it to the registry so that it's a pinned version and we also can understand which patches are in that package, right? I will bring that up at a different location. I think I'm derailing the
sure.
thing.
We can take it off, no problem.
Yep.
Okay, thanks. And Lucas, I don't know whether Lucas is here. So in the last meeting.
Sure, I am here, and thank you for this time.
Yeah. So do you have any security updates related to 1.8?
I do not.
Okay. Okay. So there's nothing from you.
I mean, I do have items that the TSC might want to consider, but nothing specific to 1.8. So we may want to focus on.
What about this RQ change that was landed? I mean, if it's already landed in master, shouldn't we include it?
Which change was that? I'm sorry.
Perhaps I'm not saying the acronym correct. It's like this request or this REQ, where you can use a keyboard shortcut to drop into terminal or like privileged access, and
I'm not sure what the status of that is. I know the item you're talking about. I believe that was checked in and is design and is going into 1.8, and we planned to close it without testing because we couldn't reproduce, although we knew what the code change was. Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah. I just wasn't sure if it was going to be included in 1.8 or if it falls into the bullet showing on the screen.
I will switch that.
I think we can make it part of the release notes, and because it's already part of master. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. And the next item is about the ARM Docker build job. So this is work in progress. We have to create this workflow to generate the AGW image so that we can host in Magma Artifactory. So it's not an optional item, so it is a mandatory item. Hopefully it will be done by this week. And the last item is I did a fresh test by running the Docker services on ARM Graviton 2 instance in AWS. So the enode ping works fine, and I face issues with UE ping. I need some help in debugging this. So Shruti, who can help me here to debug these kind of traffic issues? Can I reach out to better folks or somebody in the community who has some expertise on this?
Yeah, if it is UE reachability, we can debug it, Govin.
Okay, so this is a Docker environment.
Okay.
Yogesh?
Yeah, sure.
Govin,
no problem.
in the interest of time, can we take this offline? I think now that we have an owner.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, so that's it from my side.
I would have one question regarding your first point, the 2 blocked PRs that should land. I raised some concern that they are not yet very reviewed and might be in a not yet mergeable state. I'm not sure that was just by scrolling through them, not by reviewing them. I just wanted to understand what the state of that is. So like for one pull request, the reviews are more than a month old, and there was a lot of movement in the related code.
I think Daljit raised that concern.
Sorry, could you?
I raised the concern that the 2 blocking pull requests for the release by Wavelabs, that they are not, so they are blocked by the CI issues, but they are also maybe not fully reviewed. And maybe, from scrolling through them and from looking at the pull requests, they don't look like CI screen just merge. And I just wanted to understand what the state of these pull requests is. But maybe we can also take that offline. It's in the release chat. And
let's do that on the release chat. Yeah, with the time that we have, you should move on with the other items.
Great. Let's go on to the next topic. Shruti, it's to review the Tsc processes.
Yeah, I'll share my screen. Okay. Hope this is visible to everyone.
Maybe make it a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
So I think glad to hear about all the updates that are going on the release front. I wanted to quickly jump into the Tsc processes in terms of giving a little more structure to these meetings and set the expectations of what the Tsc is working on and how can we make sure the community is coordinated, because we see a lot of discussion on the Tsc meeting about, oh, who's the owner, who can help, this is blocked and things like that. So I took a first shot at defining the section on Tsc processes Previously, it had the membership and chair guidelines and voting. I wanted to add, for everyone's visibility and goals of the TSC, and how can we better structure and the weekly meetings so that everybody can stay up to date. So it's on the wiki page. I would request everyone to review and comment, like provide feedback, but I'm gonna walk through it. So, and take questions at the end. So when the goals of the TSC is to do the Magma roadmap. That's something we are a parallel effort that's going on. Coordinate priority across different work streams so that everybody is like the release versus and DevOps and features and testing, security, everybody comes together. Monitor CI health, and as an escalate request from DevOps team, because DevOps teams, I think it's spread pretty thin across all the requests that are coming in. So as the TSC chair, I was added it in the TSC chair responsibilities is to support the DevOps team in prioritizing CI issues and improvements. And I would really request everyone who has a request to the DevOps team or the CI to post it on the Slack channel, on the group channel. Don't do direct messaging to the individuals, because it's confusing for everyone that, oh, I asked him to do this and I asked him to do this and we are all blocked. It would be good to route those requests to the TSC chair or bring it to this meeting or put it on the Slack channel. So, and the other responsibility we have is on the whole huge list of technical proposals that are on the GitHub page. These are non-grant proposals, to be clear. These are ideas that people want to work on and have created. And my suggestion is that we go through this list of proposals and identify one TSC member for each proposal who can steer these, gather feedback, gather comments, and make sure we accept them either through GitHub discussion, or we bring them to the TSC for presentation, or we say, okay, request for change, or communicate to the authors. Ensure that code owners groups are active and PRs are not getting stale. So that's relevant to here too. And the TSC also needs to provide quarterly updates to the governing board, and that's the role of the TSC chair, to be that interface between the governing board and the community and the TSC. And in general, what we are doing as part of this TSC group is define best practices for the project and TSC. So these I've listed the goals here. If you feel like adding some more or adding more clarity, please comment on the TSC channel, the public governance TSC channel, and we can revise this.
Ruti, I have a question about the first bullet and the fourth bullet. Those seem very much related, but didn't sound related from your descriptions. So what part of like the reviewing non-grant proposals should include looking at the roadmap and seeing how it fits with the roadmap, and if it's a priority, and documenting who's asking for it.
Right. So let's hold on to that thought for a minute, and I'll come back to it when I jump into roadmap. I think that's a very good question, and I wanted to touch on that today. Just to wrap up this page was, I also added a weekly meeting agenda here, in terms of these are not everything that we'll do in every meeting, but we would want to periodically click on roadmap planning, something that I added to the agenda today, but we made depending on how much time we have, is do weekly check-ins on all work streams so that TSC becomes the, because TSC has to provide the leadership across all work streams. It's good for all of them to come in one place and give quick updates on how the release is going. What are the weekly lowlights and highlights on the DevOps testing framework? Something that the OI team is picking up, security, feature development, better engineering, optionally anything from the outreach and onboarding community, any presentations. From the TSC chair, specifically, I think that the TSC needs to be aware of what prep goes in before the government, because TSC chair attends the governing board meeting as a representative of the TSC. And so what are we planning to present there, and what is coming out of that? And again, going on to the other responsibility of reviewing proposals. So these are the things. This is the structure we would like to follow. I think another level of detail would be how much time we want to allocate, and that's something Kendall and I can work together in, like, how much time do we dedicate to each of these. Like typically a 2 to 3 minute check-in from each is what is expected, and what would be ideal to just bring in the highlights, because we do have separate meetings for each of these to go and to do deep dive, and individual teams can have their own internal discussion around what's the blockers. But if something, so just giving a quick update of, oh, is everything on track, or we need support, or we need some extra escalation through the TSC, that's something that comes into this check-in. So going forward, we'll follow this and see how it plays out, and I'm open to and let's see if that works well for us, and we can keep on iterating over that. Does that make sense? I'll take a quick pause for questions, and then I'll jump into the roadmap question that Joey had.
Hey, Shruti, these governing meetings are public or no?
No.
No. Okay.
So yeah, so let me jump into so the roadmap side, and the looking at what we have on the governing board, and this ties back to something I raised in the governing board meeting, in the last governing board meeting, was Magma, while it's taking up is becoming a fully community-owned Linux Foundation project. In the short term, energy of the project should not be tied to grants. I think we should identify stakeholders who have incentive to work on this and take it to market and bring in their own resources to develop the project, so that the grant process we have, it's the first time we are running this. We're still working out through all the steps and processes there. And my feedback to the governing board was, one, it is still a process that is not completely fleshed out. TSC is a technical committee which does not have the bandwidth to do program management, to track, okay, now that the grant is approved, how is it getting executed on? Who is signing those payouts for the grants? How do we hold different parties accountable? That's not something that we as a set of volunteers who are totally engaged in the technical aspect of the project should be assigned to do. And with the fact that a lot of items on this roadmap are all tied to grant approval, that just delays the development of the project, and it brings in a lot more risk or a lot more variables into play, which are out of the control of the TSC. So my strong recommendation would be to identify features which the community is already engaged in, and if a stakeholder can bring in their own resources to build the project and to take it to the market, that would give it the boost to take on the maybe any other approaches of figuring out how the program would be managed, how the funds would be managed, how the grants would be managed. So my feedback to the governing board has been, let's pause on the grant process until we have figured out who will fill the different roles, the gaps that we have in terms of the fiduciary responsibilities. We can look at proposals from a technical perspective. So that's what goes back to the non-grant proposals are issues that contributors have raised with the interest of, oh, these are changes that we would like to make. Hopefully these come with, this is something that the TSC is absolutely capable of reviewing and commenting and making a judgment that yes, it is technically feasible and it is aligned with the direction the project is going, and it should be done. So in terms of the short-term de-risking of the roadmap, achieving our delivery, like achieving features or better engineering or making the project more stable, those are the things we would be looking for, making it like capturing feedback from the deployers and what can be achieved without being blocked on grants. I think that would be in the best interest of the project. Open to feedback there. That's what I wanted to emphasize. What do other folks think?
Yeah.
So my understanding of the genesis of the grant proposal program was that like Meta, who helped start this project and create the community, had relationships with some system integrators and some operator deployers. And as Meta wanted to decrease its involvement in the project, its way to continue support was to start the grant program. So it was a softer exit for the operators relying on this project for their networks, and softer exit for system integrators supporting those operators. And so if the proposal is to put the grant program on hold, that's like a second pretty significant shift for the operators relying on Magma and previously the relationships with Meta. And so I'm curious what the governing board's view was when you proposed this.
I can jump in here. So a couple of things to note. So Meta still continues to put significant amounts of money into the Magma Core Foundation, all the operations, all the support staff, they're all heavily still funded by Meta. In terms of engagements with different SIs and partners, the objective of the grant fund was always to be a bootstrap, not a core funding source. And so people need to have some way to have a plan regardless of Meta, like you cannot be dependent on Meta for continued existence. And so I think the other thing to note is that any direct engagements before had a lot of support behind it. There were program managers, release engineers, entire support staff that facilitated any work that was done. Having all that stood up itself is a fair cost. And so to support that, as well as to fund all of the NRE is not something that is within the budget at this point.
I guess the other ask there is all the engagements that have been built in so far. Can we strengthen those and can we build on those use cases in the short term while the governing board figures out if and how to run the brand process?
And specifically on the DY side of things, there is a workshop that's happening on the 9th, which I believe is open to the community. Kendall can share the details if it's appropriate. But the ask is for anybody building a DY solution to come to the table and say, hey, here's all the things that we're doing. Here's one small area that we'd like some support, and then work as a team together to build common features. So Freedom 5 is building some, then another company can build some other ones. The entire load should not fall on one company. And then other people in the ecosystem that are providing services or facilities can also then partner together to say, hey, how do we engage in a common goal? Right now, we've got a bunch of different diverging proposals, and having everybody on the same page building towards one thing, I think would be a very useful thing. And the June 9th discussion is hoping to bring that together.
Got it. I'm honestly less concerned about the DY side of the world and more concerned about the like traditional Magma, or not traditional, like the core cellular features side, like the inbound roaming enhancements, the outbound roaming enhancements, and those.
That is correct, yes.
Proposals.
So to be clear, I was not talking about the minor side of things. I was talking specifically about the features that are needed for decentralized wireless.
Well, but those, I mean, I think it's important to frame those requests correctly. Those are not unique to decentralized wireless at all.
Fully agree. Yep. So the point there that I was trying to make is that we need a near-term customer proof point, and decentralized wireless is that near-term proof point. So we should rally everyone to assist with that proof point and then go from strength to strength to another use case. So yeah, it is entirely fair that you would need roaming and billing and things like that for other use cases as well. But we don't have anybody else going to market this time in the near term that requires those features.
Well, that I mean, that's not true. Viasat is in market and has been requesting the roadmap for those features since late last year.
So to be clear, there is no roadmap that there's like a central authority that builds, right? It's a community effort. So if somebody wants to build some features towards Viasat's use case, they would bring it to the TSC and say, here's some proposals, here's what we're looking to build. So that's
which is what we're showing on the screen at the moment.
Right, but if you look at the status, everything is blocked waiting on money, right? Like that is not how a community works, where every single thing needs to be funded.
Gotcha.
Like it's entirely conceivable that one thing would be funded, but we just don't have a support infrastructure or the money to fund every single thing and make sure everything is running smooth sailing, right? We need to have companies step up and say, hey, we're building a bunch of this stuff. We need some support to bootstrap our efforts. That's a little bit of a different framing than, hey, we need money for everything we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, to plus one on that, I mean, it doesn't look good when all these, 90% all these roadmap items have pending grant approval next to it. So it kind of breaks the the whole process basically. So if somehow the grant proposal is decoupled from bringing a proposal with the intent to actually these are developer resources that we are going to put, this is the timeline we are going to put, and we are invested to make it happen in next 3 months, 6 months, or 1 month, etc. That needs to be basically clearly specified, and somehow the funding is already more or less should be granted by the time the proposal is actually discussed by the TSC. Because now in the current process, what happens is TSC basically says, oh, okay, this proposal looks nice, but it cannot make it a roadmap decision. It goes to the board, it is pending budget, then it has to come back again and then discuss again basically whether it was budgeted or not and what was the consequence of that. So my 2 cents will be, when the proposals come to the TSC for discussion, for roadmap discussion, the parties should be already committed to the delivery basically, so that the time that TSC is vested to make it work is not wasted. Otherwise, basically, this is like a queuing system. We keep dropping packets basically, and TSC basically doing a lot of work, but the output is 0. There is throughput, but the output is 0.
Right, and that's where the grant proposal, it's on. I'm looking for feedback from other TSC members on how do you feel about the grant process, and that's my opinion so far, that it's something that's still in works. It's not a smooth process, and it's, to Lash's point, it reduces the output of the project, of the team.
I agree with your statements.
I mean, also maybe to reflect on what we have been doing so far. No, I mean, when Meta was the party basically who has been developing most of the features, of course, with the all the other companies basically, Wave Labs, Redis, and so on, helping basically to the feature development. You have already a set of developers basically allocated and committed, and it was a matter of prioritizing what will be delivered and allocating those headcounts towards delivering those features. So that was the process, and it was working, I guess, to a large extent because of the centralized nature of this. And if we want to go, if we want to keep a similar centralized structure, either what that structure will be should be shaped by the TSC and governing board, or if we are going to go for a more decentralized approach where people actually bring in and do different development efforts on the code base, with a maybe a looser governance, basically what you can bring or what you cannot bring to that code base. This is yet another model basically. I don't know if there is a third option.
Right, and to that point, in terms of making the immediate progress on the project and getting it up and running and have the non-grant processes set up would be the fastest way to build the community and to make sure we have the TSC is putting in time into making the technical reviews, the technical review process streamlined, aligning all the work streams, and that's what I've tried to document here. I think we can pause here and revisit this next week as folks have had more time to deliberate on it, and we can move on with the agenda if nobody has any immediate questions.
Okay, great. I know we only have 10 minutes left. So Shruti, did you want to go through these weekly check-ins this week or push that to next week? I know we don't have all of the parties on. I did send them each the meeting invite, so they should have it, but we can follow up on Slack to make sure that they have it on their calendar.
All right. I think in the given time that we have, let me add, so we don't need to do we can do the weekly check-in over, we can request this week's check-in over Slack.
Okay.
And take it from next week, have all the parties involved and come and talk. And if, I hope there's no timing conflict. So we've already gone over the release updates. On the DevOps side, I think Tim wasn't able to join. He would be in next Monday, but I can give a quick update on that. Is one, I see the CI is getting greener. I believe there's still some fixes going on. And this is a new failure, but it was, we had a few green builds. So need to double check on that.
I also have some reporting on DevOps side from Niels that he wanted me to mention that the tedious analysis sessions are still ongoing with a focus on the CBAC tests, HEW tests, and LTE intake tests. And it starts looking good, but it also contains a lot of hacky and maybe not so stable decisions that make stuff green, but they are merged because they make stuff green, not because they are correct, potentially. So even if it's getting greener, there still might be new bugs that came into the system, and it needs some time to stabilize and to prove that it's gone in the right direction.
I see. And I think to that point, then we are also working on a DevOps documentation, which we would eventually want to move to Confluence, which documents all the activities, all the efforts the DevOps team is working on, and what are and a better reference to anybody who wants to understand the CI workflows. So I think we have owners for different ongoing activities. So this is the list we have here, and if you are on this list, please make an effort to make sure this documentation is correct and it's revise, ask questions, put comments, and then by the end of this week, if we can move this to Confluence, that would be great for everyone's visibility. I'm also personally working with Tim to get most of the knowledge from him documented, so all of you can also start testing this documentation. Coming back to CI, I also had a question about the Wavelabs 5G CI pipeline. Yogesh, did you have a comment?
Yes, Shruti, we saw this today and there was some package installation missing. So we are trying to do it manually to see, is there any specific package that has to be added? So we'll update by tomorrow or worst case by Wednesday.
Okay, can you post an update on DevOps CI so that it
absolutely
knows what's going on?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, the rest of the items I think we can follow up on Slack. I'm not aware of any specific blocker urgent matter. With the leftover time, I wanted to request from Joey an update on the Magma deployer feedback.
We have yet to get replies. I will follow up and poke and increase the pressure to get replies to the emails.
I see.
And that's from the emails I sent, and I've not heard from others if they've sent emails or not. So that would be Redtronics customers and Wave Labs customers.
So you, yeah, Yuri. So we are meaning whatever feedback we are getting, we are putting in a condensed format in that roadmap list. So we discussed with these points with the customers, and that's what we put here. Of course, we have not put the name of the customers, but these were like with the discussions of the customers, we came across these points.
I see. And Yogesh, when you say pending to raise proposal, this is again, this is not a grant proposal, hopefully.
Yes. Yeah, meaning I was not sure, so that's what I just kept it. So how to prioritize, how to put it. Yeah, but now we understand whatever comes here should be out of grant. So yeah, let me go back and check with the team, like how we want to put it here. I'll come back next week, Shruti, on this. But whatever is here was discussed with the customer, either or a mail or a phone, and we just summarized it here.
Okay. Sounds good. Shubham, did you have any updates?
Yeah, so this week, me and Max are at the Open Infra Summit. And today we were in the Open Infra board meeting. We met Mark Koller, who is in the Magma's governing board. And we were discussing about expanding the Magma project. And he said, okay, he will connect us with few companies who will help us grow the community and bring the more contributors in. So event will start from tomorrow. So maybe we can have more contributors, more companies to get on the project that will help us in the long term. Any questions or any suggestions that we should take care of?
Oh, so are you expecting any email reach outs, any responses, or
yeah, so
can you update us next week?
On this feedback form?
On the deploy feedback.
Yeah, so I asked Pollen Mobile, they said they have a lot of deployers, but yeah, in the call they said it, but yeah, they never replied on the official email. I can send them again and let's see. The Retonics, they have already filled it. Let me also ask other companies if they are working on it. So yeah, I'll get back to this.
Okay, so I think once you have that, Joey would be compiling this, so we don't have duplicates in the roadmap.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we can put it all in the community page and almost just like put it all in raw, and then I can go through and consolidate, because it is actually like extra data. We can see that like client one brought up more capacity for AGWs, and client two like also brought it up, and client three also brought it up. We can consolidate it in the end for roadmap input, but it shows weight to those requests.
Absolutely, and I think that that weight is important. Okay. Sounds good. So for next week, let's plan to revisit this and look back at the roadmap now that we've made some clarity on what to put on the roadmap and try to decouple it from the grants. And let's try to start with a new structured meeting where we have check-ins from different streams and to handle priorities across the operational streams.
Sounds good.
Anything else on the 1 minute that we have left?
Take the silence as a no. Can go ahead and end. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.